Summer holidays are typically spent outdoors near the water, and Labor Day is no exception. For that reason, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you an experience of mine and stress the importance of water safety and, more specifically, life jackets. 3 years ago, we were at our cabins in the Groffles, watching the Guadalupe River swiftly rush by. It was far above the normal flow rate due to the recent rains. The bottoms of the ancient cypress trees were engulfed by the rushing white water. It was actually a pretty powerful sight to see the usually slow-moving river in this form. Guided raft trips were the only recreation to be had, and tubing was absolutely not allowed. Well, we may not have reserved a guided raft trip, but we did have a handy ocean kayak that my dad brought from home. It wasn't long before boredom got the best of us. My brother Darren and myself decided to give it a try. How excited is this going to be, I was thinking. The only thing that slowed us down was my mom's worrisome attitude. Are you sure you guys should do this? Shouldn't you wear life jackets? That sounded silly to us. We were strong swimmers. Well, but with some resistance and persistence, Mom won as she usually does.
Yeah.
A couple of cheesy life jackets, and away we went down to the water. This is going to be a blast. We were now in the water, and we were not disappointed. This is awesome, my brother Darren hollered as we zipped by one campground after another. We were having a ball, just shooting through the rapids, embraced by the speed of the river. In order to get back to our cabin, we had to get out and walk a short stretch, and then back to the river. Getting out of the kayak in the strong current was a little tricky, but we managed nonetheless. So we were back in the water, and the cabin was now just half a mile away. Let me remind you that the usual 2-hour slow tubing trip took us about 20 minutes, 10 of which was spent walking. This is where things got interesting. As we near the cabin pier, Darren and I hop out of the boat where we assumed the pier to be located. It was disguised in about 3 feet of water. Darren obviously had a successful landing and wasted the shoreline. I, however, was not quite as fortunate. I failed to find footing on the pier and was quickly swept downstream with the soon-to-be-lost kayak. I immediately faced downstream, kept my feet in front of me. I think I remember this from an episode in Survivor. Lie on your back, keep your feet in front of you. So that's what I did. It was about 50 feet or so before my left foot that was in front of me found its way into a tangle of cypress roots. It spun me sideways and held on like a wedge. The current helped lock it in place. I could feel the torque on my lower leg, thinking that it was on the verge of snapping in two. The other two things that went through my mind were, so this is how strong swimmers drown. Number two, I sure am glad I have this silly-looking life preserver on. I couldn't hear much through the pocket of air created by the water washing around my head, but because I was wearing a life jacket, I was able to breathe and could hear some faint yelling from the shore. The pain in my leg couldn't overcome the awful feeling in my stomach that things could soon get worse. What if more water was released from the dam? What if the river rose from more rain upstream? What if my leg breaks? None of which were very comforting thoughts. Through the whitewash, fighting the current, putting himself in harm's way, I could see that Darren had waded towards me into chest-deep water, holding a small tree with one hand and reaching out to me with the other. After a few attempts at connecting hands, we managed to grab a few fingers, which lent enough leverage to free my leg from the roots. Ooh, that was close. My brother and I are not very affectionate towards each other, but I had no choice but to give him a big hug. That day, concern, lean toward the safe side. I encourage all you daredevils to take this necessary precaution when it comes to water safety for you and your family. Have a safe Labor Day